Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your might. It's been a while since I've made a video. It's been kind of crazy. Had a lot of crazy things going on, and haven't gotten around to it. And also, I'm kind of perplexed because I've been going through the Shema in Hebrew with everyone, and I got as far as Hear, O Israel, the Lord. And the Hebrew word for Lord is Adonai. And I started researching the word Adonai, and all I can say is the Hebrew language is so deep, and there's so much reference to the word Adonai. Now, Adonai is not the name of God. A lot of people think that's a name. It's actually a title, and it's where we get the English word Lord from. But Lord just doesn't cut it. If you look into the Hebrew of what the word Adonai actually means, it does mean Lord, but it also means master, and owner. And that's the one that really got me, is owner. And it got me thinking and looking into things, and if someone is your owner, that means you're a slave. Well, God delivered us from slavery from Egypt, and then offered us a new type, a new way to live. And in order to live that completely, with life and life more abundantly, we have to become something called a bondservant. Bondservant. And what bondservant means, it's a voluntary slavery. And it's not a bad thing. Paul calls himself a bondservant of Christ. Peter refers to himself as a bondservant of Christ. James, a bondservant of Christ. And if you really think about it, in the world we live in today, if we are truly owned by God, and I am owned by God, I'm not a very good slave sometimes. I'm not a very good bondservant, but I do my best to be a good bondservant. But what that does is it frees us to follow with our whole heart and not worry about what the world thinks. I heard one speaker, I forgot who it was, but he was talking about the homosexual community and how they came down on him because he could not agree or could not tolerate the fact that homosexuality is perfectly all right. And he's like, I don't hate I don't tolerate that, or I don't tolerate the thought of that. It's the people I love, but I cannot tolerate your lifestyle and say, well, that's okay. And they're like, well, that's awfully closed-minded. And he said, yes, it is. And the fact of the matter is, the Bible does not teach us to tolerate sin. The Bible does not, anywhere in the Word, does it ever tell us to tolerate sin. And not in our own lives, and not to tolerate sin as normal. In Romans, Paul says, if anyone may not, Brent word paraphrase, you may not participate in a sinful act, but if you condone the sinful act, you're just as guilty. And I don't have an opinion anymore. I'm not allowed to have an opinion. If my opinion disagrees with the Bible, my opinion has to change if I'm a true follower of Yeshua. If I'm a true follower of the Word, because Yeshua was the living Torah. And in order to follow Him to the best of my ability, I need to follow Torah to the best of my ability. I'll be honest with you. I was a theater major in college. What little bit of college I had, I loved the theater. I loved acting. I loved singing, and so on. And the homosexual community, it's fairly large in that realm of study and in that community, the theater community. And I was very tolerant. I was like, live and let live, you know. And to a point, everyone has their own freedoms to do what they want to. But looking back on it, I was probably far too complacent on the behavior when it came to letting myself go to parties and associate a lot with the homosexual community. Not in a hateful way. I shouldn't have avoided it in a hateful way, but I sort of, looking back on it, there's a lot of things I could have done to separate myself, to sanctify myself away from that. And, you know, with all the things going on in the world, transgender, just you name it. I mean, what they're trying to do with our kids, Disney's been in the news and so on and so forth. We have to stand by what we believe, and we have to find a way to do it in a loving way, but not a tolerant way, and that's a fine line to walk. But anyway, I'll wrap this up. The word for the day is Adonai, Master, Lord, Owner. I am owned by Yehovah. I am bought by the blood of Yeshua, and I belong to Yehovah, and I will follow his word to the best of my ability. And that's a challenge to all of us to do in this day and time. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who trade sweet for bitter and bitter for sweet. Blessed are you when you're persecuted and falsely accused for my sake. We're called haters. We're called haters simply because we disagree, and we have foundation to disagree. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope this blesses you. I hope you find some information you can use. I hope it encourages you. So, shalom.